How is going to school to learn to be a designer different from the real world, and how is it the same?
Uh, well, when you're working in school, it's different because what you're doing is you're solving design problems with teachers and with your students all around you. You're getting input and you're getting views and feelings from what you're seeing everyone else is doing as far as students and you're in the faculty. When you're in the real world, you're solving problems and you're going up against clients that have their own opinions and they pay you to do what to solve their problems, and they're very, very outspoken. And sometimes it's very difficult because you're dealing with subjectivity. So it can become very, very difficult if you don't understand and have a really good understanding of, if you don't have a really good understanding of strategy and art and its function as far as communication, it's going to be very, very difficult to communicate that with clients. Your ideas, because it gets down to what they like and what you like. And if it's, hey, I like this idea because it's cool, 9 times out of 10 that doesn't fly. You usually need a little bit more dialogue and a little bit more vocabulary to sell clients.
I think you have deadlines the same in an educational environment. I don't know. I guess it depends on the educational environment as to how projects are given to students. In the real world, I think you have, in some cases, not as much direction that you have to kind of figure out in a classroom environment. You're probably performing a lot of roles as an individual, whereas professionally you would probably be working as a team to solve big problems of strategy and whatnot. You've got account services people that are helping to define the problems that you have to solve in design. And the way you get instruction is probably different. It's unlikely, I would think, in an educational environment that you're going to get the kind of detailed project parameters, and the communication goals defined as clearly as you would in a professional environment. And that, I think, is a handicap in some cases for a designer in school, because through my experience in design, your success as a designer is really dependent on how well the problems are defined for you to solve. So if you're the one who has to kind of go out and seek that kind of direction as a designer, knowing what questions to ask of a client or a person assigning the project is as important as how you solve the problem.
I think going to schools, how is it different? I mean, at school you don't have a budget. We've got a budget here. The collaboration at school, there wasn't a whole lot of collaboration. It was really competitive, it seemed. Here there's still some competitive, but it's all in good fun. We're on the same team, so the collaboration really helps out. As far as how it's the same from school, not too much. I mean, you're applying the same techniques and the knowledge that you've learned, but other than that, I think the first 6 months out of school, you really get a wake-up call and realize that, wow, I really don't know that much. So
I would say the biggest difference is the time that you get to work on a project.
I mean,
in school, sometimes you get weeks to work on a project, and we're lucky if we get a few days. And sometimes it comes down to a few hours, actually.
that's right. I mean, I think that's the biggest difference. I mean, it's just time. It's deadlines. It's clients. Trying to do what they want instead of what you suggest is the best. And I think that's that's the biggest difference. I mean, in school, pretty much, you go, you do kind of what you want, and you kind of show it. If they decide it's good, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's very different, man. Once you get here, you have time constraints, so that you do in school, but then you have a client, who say, oh no, I don't think this works. It's like going to a doctor, you're telling, no, I don't want the medicine, I think I need this instead. It's kind of the same thing, So I think time and freedom, in a way. So in most places you work is normally that way. So.
And printing, too, with print media, there's a lot that you learn
Oh,
after
yeah.
school because you don't really get the opportunity to send anything to print when you're in school, and all kinds of things can happen on press. You learn all about adjusting files for print. It's a whole different side of the business, actually.
And I wish, man, going through school and stuff. I think, they should put more of a focus, on that part, where you should have a class where it's just printing, where you just learn all that, where you hang out at printers and see how it works, how you go through presses, the tricks, what it takes, different papers, how stuff prints on different papers. So I think schools lack a little bit on that, to where it's not as real as it would be, So.
Excellent. Great question.
I think going to school to learn to be a designer, you're not getting the challenges that you would get outside in the actual field when you're actually going to school to learn how to do this. It's more about just getting the key factors that you're going to learn that will help support problems that you might have occur when you're actually out in the field. When you're out in the field, you're going to be running into so many different things that it's going to be, sometimes you're going to have to even jump back and step back and relearn certain things, or even try different methods. So a big thing is more of, in school you've got the time to take the time to learn new things and to try to get better, whereas out in the field you're having to adapt as you're going all the time, trying to change things. New things come and go, so it's a lot of just up and down. You're always having to learn and change with whatever you're doing.
The similarities, you're using the same programs, you're going to do the same types of things as far as design brochures and posters and logos and such. But the main difference is that school, you're still, even though you're having guidelines or restrictions put upon you by your teachers, you're still kind of designing for yourself. Whereas in the real world, you're designing for a client. You need to make the piece actually, as I said before, be successful or have a certain result to it. So not only do you have to make the piece designed well, it needs to be results driven. You're going to need to review it with your art director, with your creative director, with the account executive, and then finally the client. So there's a lot more people involved with it, and it's a lot more of a team effort, and it's a lot more hands-on by everybody else. It's not so much someone giving you, here's some guidelines, and then you go figure out what it is, which school seems to be a little bit more on that.